Oh, Brisbane Open House is on this weekend. I love this. This is the time of year when we can peek inside a house that's not even for sale. It's not even open for inspection. Gee, there's some amazing buildings. They'll be open to the public, but some of them you have to be really quick to get into the really popular ones because you do need to book for some of them. Now, Marion Taylor is house detective and history nerd, and that's exactly what you'll find her under on Facebook, and she joins me now. Hi, Marianne.
Hi, Claire. How are you?
I'm very well. I know you're very excited about this weekend. This is your area.
It definitely is. It's one of my favourite weekends of the year, actually. I get to have a sticky pig in all these beautiful buildings and houses.
Now, even you missed out on some of them that just went so quickly this year.
I know, I did. I think it was a new one for this year. It's called the Cul-de-sac at Fig Tree Pocket, and there was three fantastic I think 60s and 70s homes that were open for the first time, and these are private homes that you wouldn't ordinarily get to look in, and that was all booked out within about an hour, I think, of the bookings opening. And I also missed out on Torbreck, which I was hoping to have a look at, the high-rise place at Highgate Hill, which is absolutely stunning.
Oh, the blue building. That was so controversial at the time, wasn't it?
It was, and I mean, these things really interest me, but from a nerdy building point of view as well, it was a really innovative construction method for the time where they actually lifted prefabricated panels and things like that. So that's mainly not really why people go to see it, but that's what I'm interested in.
The nerdy side of you comes out, the design, the architect.
Does, absolutely.
But people are still living in there, so how does that work?
They've got just select places in the building open, I believe. So one of them, I think, is the observation room on the top floor and things like that. So, and the foyer itself and the grounds are pretty spectacular to see, as well as the exterior of the building. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad that they're thinking outside the box a little bit with some of these places.
Well, there's a lot of people that love that 60s, 70s architecture now. I mean, when you talk about that cul-de-sac, where did you say that was? In
Fig Tree Pocket.
So they houses that have been redone in that style, or they've been modernised, or do you know anything about them?
I don't know much about them. I believe they're the original ones from the 60s and 70s. So what basically happened was residents in the area got worried that they were going to get built out with horrible modern things. So they actually bought up all the area around them and then sold off the parcels, but large lots of land, so that they weren't crowded in by new development. And they also, I believe, put strict covenants over the houses that could be built there. So what you get is this really unique collection of different architect-designed houses, which is a real kind of treasure trove of architecture from that period. So it's a really interesting study.
Oh, I love all that stuff. There's all the churches and all the buildings, Newstead House, all the ones that we know and love really well, but there's a couple that I didn't know about. Archerfield Airport, I'd love to have a look at that.
Oh, definitely. That's it's such a quirky building, that one. And I mean, it's pretty plain from the street side that you actually see, but when you see it on the runway side, it's an Art Deco delight, really. And there's I just noticed the other day there's also a cemetery in front of the building at the airport, which actually a lot of the original pioneers of the Archerfield area are actually buried there as well, which is something I only learnt recently.
Oh, a little bit of spooky, a little bit of intrigue.
Yeah, hopefully there's not too many ghosts around.
The ones that took my eye to are Walter Taylor Bridge. You can go up and people used to live in there. They don't still live there, do they, Marianne?
No, they don't. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember as a kid, every time I went over that bridge, I used to want to live up there. And they always, the other thing I remember is they always had their clothes hanging out on the outside of the bridge.
I remember that as a kid, and my mum going, "Oh, you couldn't do that. You'd get all that smog all over your clothing."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but apparently the apartments are quite interesting, and that, as with everyone, I've been meaning to go and see that for ages, and it is actually open for tours throughout the year as well, not just on this weekend, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's good to know. And some of the other buildings, like I think the Powerhouse and some of the AcuPac, they actually have tours around the back, which are really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one I'm probably most excited about, a little bit biased because I was involved in the conservation of it, but the old Roma Street building at Roma Street Station.
Oh,
so
yes.
It's one of I think it's the earliest terminal railway building station left in Australia. And I don't know, if you've caught the train into the city a lot, you would have seen scaffolding and things up. They've just done a whole restoration of the exterior of the building and stripped off a lot of the terrible additions that were there. And it is absolutely stunning inside. You can go in and see the old ticket offices on the ground floor, and it's got quirky things like the first class ticket window. They were segregated from the rest of the masses. So it's really interesting, and it's got some really good informative panels up about the history of the building, the conservation work, and it's absolutely worth a look, that one.
I would love to go there because I remember arriving in Queensland on a train as a 5-year-old, and I think that's where the country trains arrived at the time. I'm not sure. Somebody will be able...
Yes, they did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And was it full of hanging plants at the time? I seem to remember.
It was, yes. I used to actually work for Queensland Rail, and I remember reading that they used to have a station competition where they would try and beautify each station with different plants and things like that. But the photos I've seen of it, it looks like a real tropical oasis that you arrived to Brisbane in. And the trains mainly, I think, came from Sydney, so you really would have known you were in the tropical north, I think.
Well, yeah, I just remember that's just the only impression I have of it, but it's lasting. And I've never asked anyone. I'm so glad. And very close by, of course, the Roma Street Fire Station. Now, that is fun. I've actually been through there. That's amazing.
Yes, I haven't been there myself, but I love the design of the building. It's a modern building, but it sort of calls on the, older styles, which I like, and ties in nicely with that area, I think.
So what are your top 3 picks for open house?
As I said, Roma Street Station would be one. Mygunya House at Bowen Hills. Not a lot of people know about that, but it is an absolute gem of a place hidden away in the hustle and bustle of Bowen Hills. It's on Jordan Terrace, and it's an 1880s beautiful old Queenslander. It's set up as a house museum, and they have different displays on, and they've actually got a display of Art Deco costumes and clothing on at the moment. And the house itself furnished as it would have been in the 1880s, and it's well worth a visit there. They have really informative guides that can help, and so many people go there and, sort of end up saying, I had no idea this was here, but it's really amazing that it survived and it's in such good condition. I'm
looking at it now. It's got all those ornate decorations around the decking. That's magnificent.
Yeah, the cast iron. Yep. And then my third pick, that's a bit of a tough one. I think I would probably have to go for one of the more modern houses, buildings that are open, like some of the architecture offices that are open. I think it's really cool to see some of these, particularly probably the Science and Engineering building at QUT. It's got a lot of really quirky, innovative design features about it, and I think from memory it's got really good green ratings and environmental features as well, so probably worth having a peek at that. And that's also right near Old Government House, which is great to have a look at as well.
What are you working on at the moment, Marianne?
I'm working on my Brisbane Retro project, this is why I was so interested in the cul-de-sac at Fig Tree Pocket. It's looking at houses built between 1940 and 1980, so that's keeping me very busy at the moment. I'm photographing and documenting examples that are in original condition, so that's mainly what I'm working on at the moment, but not this weekend. I'll be out looking around at all these wonderful places.
Oh, great talking to you. Thank you so much, Marianne Taylor, and you can find her on Facebook, House Detective and History Nerd.